be tempted to write me off as liberal, a compromiser, wishy-washy, unpatriotic, afraid to take a stand, or on the side of Satan. If so, let me assure you that for all my shortcomings, I don't believe any of those labels accurately describes me. And I ask you to hear me out. At the outset, I want you to know I appreciate and respect your convictions. I understand the consternation you may feel, but at the same time, I challenge you to keep an open mind and to consider this book's arguments. I know how difficult it is to take a book seriously when it confronts one's most cherished beliefs. I also know that few things in life are as intellectually and spiritually beneficial as forcing ourselves to consider ideas different from our own, even ideas that may irritate and offend. This book may well irritate and offend you at times. You may never agree with me. But I believe that wrestling with these issues will benefit you nonetheless. I only ask that you hear me out. The central thesis of this book. My thesis, which caused such an uproar, is this. I believe a significant segment of American evangelicalism is guilty of nationalistic and political idolatry. To a frightful degree, I think evangelicals fuse the kingdom of God with a preferred version of the kingdom of the world, whether it's our national interest, a particular form of government, a particular political program, or so on. Rather than focusing our understanding of God's kingdom on the person of Jesus, who incidentally never allowed himself to get pulled into the political disputes of his day, I believe many of us American evangelicals have allowed our understanding of the kingdom of God to be polluted with political ideals, agendas, and issues. For some evangelicals, the kingdom of God is largely about, if not centered on, taking America back for God, voting for the Christian candidate, outlawing abortion, outlawing gay marriage, winning the culture war, defending political freedom at home and abroad, keeping the phrase "under God" in the Pledge of Allegiance, fighting for prayer in the public schools and at public events, and fighting to display the 10 Commandments in government buildings. I will argue that this perspective is misguided, that fusing together the kingdom of God with this or any other version of the kingdom of the world is idolatrous, and that this fusion is having serious negative consequences for Christ's church and for the advancement of God's kingdom. I do not argue that those political positions are either wrong or right, nor do I argue that Christians shouldn't be involved in politics. While people whose faith has been politicalized may well interpret me along such lines, I assure you that this is not what I'm saying. The issue is far more fundamental than how we should vote or participate in government. Rather, I hope to challenge the assumption that finding the right political path has anything to do with advancing the kingdom of God. The foundational myth. What gives the connection between Christianity and politics such strong emotional force in the U.S.? I believe it is the long-standing myth that America is a Christian nation. From the start, we have tended to believe that God's will was manifested in the conquest and founding of our country, and that it is still manifested in our actions around the globe. Throughout our history, most Americans have assumed our nation's causes and wars were righteous and just, and that God is on our side. In our minds, as so often in our sanctuaries, the cross and the American flag stand side by side. Our allegiance to God tends to go hand in hand with our allegiance to country. Consequently, many Christians who take their faith seriously see themselves as the religious guardians of a Christian homeland. America, they believe, is a holy city set on a hill, and the church's job is to keep it shining. The negative reaction to my sermons made it clear that this foundational myth is alive and well in the evangelical community, and not just in its fundamentalist fringes. The reaction leads me to suspect that this myth is being embraced more intensely and widely now than in the past, precisely because